Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi wa kafa, salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa, amma ba'd. Fa'awzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhallazina aminu billahi wa rasulih. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair wa bika nasta'een. Rabbi zidni ilma, Ya Fattah, Ya Fattah, Ya Fattah. So Alhamdulillah, by grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His extreme mercy, we have reached that stage or that point of the year where a hope starts to arise in one's heart. The month of Rajab has started. And the month of Rajab is when a person is stuck in pitch darkness, then any ray of light, any small shimmer of light starts giving him hope, and he starts moving towards that, because he knows that wherever this light is coming, ahead there would be day, or ahead it would be complete brightness. Right? So imagine that you're stuck in a dark room, and from a very far distance you can see that there is some light creeping in. You would know that if I go into that direction, there would be light beyond that. Likewise, in a pitch dark night, as the dawn starts to come, there's some brightness, some small line of brightness that starts appearing on the horizon, and with that, as gradually it moves into a complete day. Rajab is like that. Rajab is that shimmer of light that appears on the horizon when it's pitch dark. Rajab is the month which announces the arrival of a month of blessings, a month of forgiveness, a month of extreme bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is Ramadan. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave significance and importance to the month of Rajab. Inshallah, in the sessions as we go along, I'll speak about the importance, and inshallah I'll record some small audio clips and we'll start sharing it on the group over and above these sessions that we do, so that we can understand the importance of what we have entered into, why it's valuable, and what it is all leading to. Because what is most important for us is that it is leading to a month which is of extreme high value. It is of such high value that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a dua that, Ya Allah, in the months preceding to that month, put barakah for us. So Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban. Rajab and Sha'ban are 2 months that come before. So Allah put barakah for us in month of Rajab and in the month of Sha'ban. وَبَلِّغْنَا Ramadan. And he made a dua that, Ya Allah, allow me to live enough so that I enter into the month of Ramadan. Just one more Ramadan. There was a discussion going on among somebody, and they said that is Fala Sahabi more pious or has a higher status, or Fala Sahabi has more status? So the person who answered, he said that the latter has higher status because he got to live one more year, which means he had to have one more Ramadan in his life. One more Ramadan, if utilized properly, is enough to save us. But for that, we need to understand, first of all, the importance of Ramadan, and then secondly, understand that what can I do to be ready for this important month. And this is what all these sessions are all about, to prepare ourselves for the month that is so valuable. Like I said, the importance of Ramadan, Rajab, importance of Shaban, and the importance of Ramadan, I will inshallah keep on sending in separate notes, because if I start covering those here as well, then you're sitting till quite late on a weekday, which I don't want to happen. So we will cover inshallah the significance of these 3 months separately and what we need to do to start preparing in these sessions. And for that, we'll start with the core, the thing that makes all the difference. If you have studied science, you would remember the formula F is equal to mg, right? Force is equal to mass into gravity, right? Which basically means that if you have a weight, if your weight is certain, but it would only be of value if it is multiplied by gravitational force. A person who weighs 70, 80 kgs on this earth would be weightless out of the gravitational pull of this earth. So there's one thing as weight, and the other thing is the mass, the value that we have. Iman is like that. Iman is that G in that formula. You can have a lot of good deeds with you, but if there is no Iman, then those weights would be weightless on the day it will matter, the day of judgment. If you have Iman, then there is a multiplying factor to all your deeds. Otherwise, they all amount to zero. Iman is the most important element, most important factor, most required thing for us when we die. In fact, if I say that if there's one thing that we have to have when we die, it is our Iman. सब कुछ छिन जाए, सब कुछ ले लिया जाए, लेकिन अगर अल्लाह सुब्हानहू ताला ईमान पे मौत दे दे, if we end up on Iman, that means that inshallah there is hope that with the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter Jannah. Iman is very, very important. You know how important it is? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. Who's he addressing? The people of Iman. He's not saying Ya ayyuhallazina ashraku, people who do shirk. Ya ayyuhallazina nafaku, those who do nifaq. He's not addressing Ya ayyuhallazina kafaru, Ya ayyuhallazina kuffar. He's not addressing those who deny, those who do shirk, who do these munafiqat. He's addressing Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, those who have Iman. Do what? Aminu billahi wa rasulihi. Have Iman in Allah and His Messenger. What does that mean? Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala need to address those who is already calling as mu'min to say that believe in Allah and His Messenger? This is a reminder. At times when you are already at a status, but you say, yeah, it's always good to have that reminder because it lets me know, where I am and what I need to do. So this is one of those things, that you are already here, but don't forget that this title that you're getting is because of what? Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, those of Iman, you are being addressed as allazina amanu because that you keep your belief in Allah and His Messenger. Aminu billahi wa rasuli. Some Mufassirin have said that this is to remind that have taqwa. Because the ultimate goal of everything is taqwa. Iman has categories, and that's what I want to remind us of. The first stage of Iman is iqrarun bil lisan. That is, we testify with our tongue. Iqrarun bil lisan. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. I testify that Allah is one and there is no other ma'bud besides Him, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger. Simple testification by tongue. The next stage of it is tasdeequm bil qalb. Iqrarum bil lisan wa tasdeequm bil qalb. Iqrar is to testify. Tasdeeq is to validate. That I pronounce it with my tongue, but I validate it with my heart. I validate it with my heart. And this is a very important factor, because in Quran, in Surah Hujurat, we come across an incident. We come across an incident where there were some people who had entered into Islam, and they started calling that we are the believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when they tell that we have believed, tell them that you haven't believed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ayah number 14 of Surah Hujurat says, Qalatil Arabu amanna, that these Bedouins, they come and they say that we have believed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Kul lam tu'minu, tell them you have not believed. But instead these people should say that we have just accepted Islam. Walakin qulu aslamna. And what is the reason for that? Walamma yadkhulil imanu fi qulubikum, because the Iman has not yet entered their heart. Iman has not yet entered their heart. This tasdeequm bil qalb is a very, very important factor. But the question arises that how do we know that, have I just done iqrarum bil lisan, have I just testified, or has Iman literally entered into my heart as well? The beauty of our religion is that even that is answered. It said that when you have testified by your tongue and you have verified it within your heart, it would start reflecting in your actions. The verification of heart would start reflecting in your actions. Al-imanu ikrarum bil lisan. That Iman is that you acknowledge it with your tongue. Wa tasdeekum bil janan, that you, or tasdeekum bil qalb, that you validate it with your hearts. Wa amalun bil arkan, and that you show it through your body parts, that it should show on your body parts. Somebody was, they're all kinds of people, so some, come across as they're very humble, very docile, and very carefree and very God-fearing. So there was such one individual, and he was there at the time of Imam Bayazid Bastani rahmatullah alayh. So once Imam Bayazid Bastani was not able to lead the prayer for some reason, so he had such an individual in his mosque, who on the face of it looked very humble, very, God-fearing individual. So people said, today you lead. So he said, no, I can't lead. He said, why you can't lead? He said, because I'm afraid that if I start leading the prayer before I go into the ruku, Allah may take my life and I will not be able to complete the salah. So I don't want to. He was showing that he had such high level of, taqwa, that he just was afraid that he may not even able to lead the prayer because Allah may take his life, and Allah knows when that life would go. So people insisted, no, inshallah, it will be okay. Allah, wills, so it wills, but, you lead. So he said, okay, I will lead this prayer, but I will not lead the next one. So as soon as he said this, Imam Bayazid said, come back. You're not worthy of it. So people said, why? He said, here he is saying that he may not know whether he will live from Qiyam to Ruku, and he is saying that I will not lead the next prayer, right? Now he's certain that he will live up to the next prayer, which means that there was contradiction. So it starts reflecting. Such things do not hide. And we know. We don't need to look at an incident of Imam Bayazid Bastani rahmatullah alayh. We just need to look into our own life to know how many times we contradict ourselves on what we say we believe in and what we do. So it starts reflecting. But there are some important signs that distinguish a moment from a non-moment. And one of the first signs that distinguish a moment from a non-moment. And remember, just in case if you're forgetting why we are even talking about all of this, we're talking about all of this because Iman is the first and the most important criteria for us to benefit from any good action that we do. So here we are preparing for the month of Ramadan, which is all based on our actions and our intentions and what we want to do. But if we will not have the basic multiplier, if we don't have the G in that formula working towards us, it will all amount to zero. So Iman is the first thing. So we need to, and any of this that we talk about, we need to look into our hearts. We need to look deep into our hearts to see whether am I really having any of this in me or not. When you listen to this, do not think of it as, that वो मेरे दोस्त के पास ये, काश मेरा दोस्त भी सुन लेता उसको कितना फ़ायदा होता है. दोस्त इंशाल्लाह सुन लेगा. This is not for your friend. This is for yourself. We all, including me, need to listen to this and think, do I have these things in me or not? Right? So what are the things that make the difference? Has the link stopped working?
No,
Is it working?
So what are the things that No, he said, oh,
It is working. Fine. Somebody said it stopped working. So.
maybe there's a delay. That's right.
Right. Just keep it on with you and see with the low volume. If it stops working, just let me know so that we at least have an idea. Okay. Sorry. So, G, what are the distinguishing factors? The first thing is that a moment he believes unseen, without reason, without logic. मोमिन की पहचान ही ये है कि वो ईमान बिल गैब पे यकीन रखता है. और ये इतनी इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है कि कुरान शुरू होते ही इस बात की तस्दीक करता है कि ईमान वाले वो हैं जो कि ईमान बग़ैर देखे लेके आते हैं, गैब पे बिल गैब ईमान लाते हैं. अलिफ लाम मीम ज़ालिकल किताब ला रैब फीह हुदल लिल मुत्तकीन. हुदल लिल मुत्तकीन यानी कि मुत्तकीन वालों के लिए हिदायत है. अल्लज़ीना, दोज़ युमिनून बिल गैब, दोज़ हु बिलीव in the unseen. So for you to get hidayat from Quran, you need to be a person of taqwa, and for you to be a person of taqwa, the first thing, allazina yu'minuna bil ghaib, you believe in ghaib. This is so, and this is one thing that I often find, especially in the time that we are living in now, hindering us a lot. We need logic, we need reason, we need justification, we need for it to make sense for us to believe. Otherwise, yeah, it's not making sense for me. बात समझ नहीं आ रही है. आजकल हर चीज़ की एक कोई लॉजिक रीजनिंग होती है. ये जो तुम बात कर रहे हो ना, इसकी कोई लॉजिक रीज़न नहीं समझ में आ रही. बड़ा हमारा लॉजिकल दीन है. What are you talking about? There is logic for everything, there is reason for everything. At times it is our mental capacity has not reached for that logic and reasoning to be clear to us. And that is why we need to start believing without logic and reasoning. There has to be belief without logic and reasoning. Once we start believing without logic and reasoning, then we are a person of Iman.
Shaykh, you give an example of COVID-19 and closure of mosques.
Bilkul, I gave that example.
Abraham Lincoln said, if to have faith only in that which can be seen and touched is no faith at all.
Absolutely.
अनदेखे का सौदा.
अनदेखे का सौदा. जो अनदेखे का सौदा है ना, ये बहुत. I always give that example of what's his name? Harun Rashid and his wife. Right, when he was walking by and he saw somebody making a castle with sand. खैर वो कभी divert हो जाएगा, but first key point is that ईमान बिल गैब, बिन देखे का सौदा. Because when you don't do that, on the flip side, there is kafir. And for kafir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that everything will be made clear to him. It will be all clear to him. Before he dies, all these curtains would be raised. While he is still alive, in this dunya, all these things that we are denying, that beyond this there's death, beyond this there are angels who are there to receive our souls, who will take our souls, and if we are person of Iman, souls will be taken to Jannah. If we are not person of Iman, we will be condemned to hellfire, and in hellfire this is going to happen in Jannah. All these things which look extremely delusional and illogical to us, all of this would become clear in our lives before we die, at the time of death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alludes to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Qaf, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَكَشَّفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ, that we would uncover for them, we will uncover for them their deeds, their misadventures, right? فَبَصَرَكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَدِيدِ, and your eyes would become, your eyesight would become extremely sharp, so you would be able to see it all the way and to the end. And this is the time when even for Pharaoh, when he was about to drown, it was made clear for him where he is going to say, and he says, Amantu bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun. But it was said, now it's too late. Now it's too late. So the first thing, without going into too much more detail because there's a lot of things to cover, is Iman bil Ghaib. We need to ask how many of these things, how many of the things that come to us, how many of the times when we are presented with something that this is what your Shariat requires you to do we say, I believe in it. This is haqq, this is truth. I need to do it. Even if I'm not able to do it right now, we make this dua that, Ya Allah, allow me to do it.
If you don't understand something, to make dua that, may Allah make me understand it.
Absolutely. If you
Because
don't
today
understand,
my knowledge is limited.
limited.
Like 10 years ago, I couldn't imagine the things happening now.
Absolutely. So when we can't understand something, always say that, Ya Allah, what you have said, what your messenger has said is the truth. There is no denying it. Ya Allah, my understanding is limited. Ya Allah, open my heart to the truth. Always ask for your heart to be open to the truth. What will happen because of that? If the person who is using, and there are people, they use Quran, Hadeeth. Na'udhu billah, in the time that we are living in, there are people who use Quran and Hadeeth to misguide people. And you'll be like, this guy says this guy says this. Where am I going to go? What am I supposed to do? Ask for, Ya Allah, lead me to the truth. मुझे हक पे रखिए, मुझे सच पे रखिए, जो हक है मुझे उस तक पहुंचा दीजिए, and Allah will guide you. Number 2, quality of a moment. That moment accepts things khushi khushi. He is happy. He wants to. No confusion in his mind. जो अल्लाह ने दिया, जो अल्लाह ने कहा, खुशी खुशी. गैर मोमिन चीज़ों को मजबूरन, he is like forced into doing things, and the consequences of it is that on the day of judgment, they would be all ashamed of it. They would be at that point saying, Rabbana absarna wa sami'na, Ya Allah, we have seen the truth, Ya Allah, we have now seen what it all means, and we listen to it. Farji'na, Ya Allah, please take us back, allow us to go back. Na'amalu salihan, Ya Allah, so that we can just go back and do the right things now. Inna muqinun, Ya Allah, so that we can we have now started believing in it. Again, it's too late at that time. But for a moment, he has listened to these things with, Ya Allah, sami'na wa ata'na. Ya Allah, we have listened to you and we will follow you. On the day of judgment, those who do not believe, they would have this, उर्दू में कहते हैं जैसे हसरत होगी, क्या कहेंगे इंग्लिश में उसको? They will be wishful, envious, and envious is more negative. I mean, they would have this desire, like, oh, I wish, right? Whereas the moment on that day would be all pleased. The kuffar would say, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again has mentioned this in Quran, they would say that, Ya Allah, on that day when they would say that Rabbana ghalabat alayna shikwatuna, Ya Allah, the wretchedness had overpowered us in this dunya, wa kunna qawmud daleen, and we were indeed the people who had gone wrong, who had gone astray. Rabbana akhrijna minha, Ya Allah, take us out of this problem that we are in. Fa'in udna, so that we can go back and we can do right. Fa'inna zalimun, that we were the ones who were doing wrong. People would acknowledge all of this by themselves. And the people of Iman, in this world, they say, Innana sami'na munadiyan yunadi lil Iman. Ya Allah, we have heard the one who calls towards you, towards Iman. An aminu bi rabbikum fa'amanna. Ya Allah, he was telling us to bring Iman onto you, so we brought Iman. So this is the response of a moment. And this response now allows us to then enjoy the greatness on the Day of Judgment. And this Iman is what will lead us to have some value on the Day of Judgment. Without Iman, ये जो बिन देखे का सौदा है ना, बिल गैब वाला सौदा, this is what creates the value, as I've been talking now. और मैं वो वाक़या सुनाई देता हूँ. So Harun Rashid, the reason I was skipping the qissa was because I'm forgetting the name of the Sheikh who was in that Behlol Dana. So Harun Rashid would walk with his wife often, and once they were walking around the riverside and they saw Behlol Dana Rahimullah. He was sitting and he was making some castles with the sand. So Harun went to him and he said, Behlol, what are you doing? He said, I'm making a castle, and whoever will buy it for 1 dinar from me, he will get a home made in Jannah. So Harun looked at it and he said, Yaar, kya? He laughed, and his wife said that, Behlol, here's 1 dinar, please take it, and can you make dua for me that I get a castle in Jannah? So he raised his hand, he made dua. That night, Harun Rashid, he saw a dream. And he saw that he is in Jannah, and in Jannah he can see a palace which is made out of rubies and diamonds and crystals and all the valuable stones. And on it, a huge sign saying Zubaydah. Zubaydah was the name of his spouse. So he said, oh, this is Zubaydah's house. Let me just go and visit. So he goes in. So there's a guard standing out. He said, who are you? He said, I'm Harun. This is my wife's house. I'm here to visit. He said, he pushes him back. He says, no, only the person who this house belongs to can enter. So at times when you're sleeping and you actually feel the jolt in your sleep, so he felt as though he has been thrown back, so he woke up. So then he started thinking about this dream, and he realized that actually, what happened with Behlul earlier, and he told me that there would be a house for one who would buy, and Zubaydah bought. So maybe this is the house that she got. So now she has a house in Jannah and I don't. So now he was very anxious. He was like, oh, I must go and ask Behlul to make dua for me. So he said, okay, tomorrow if Behlul is there making a castle, then I'll just definitely go and pay him that 1 dinar and get myself a house in Jannah. So he was waiting, and finally the time for walk came, and he walked and he rushed towards that place where Behlul would be sitting, and he saw Behlul was again sitting and he was making the house with sand. So he said, Alhamdulillah. He went to him, he said, Behlul, what are you doing? He said, I'm making a house that whoever would buy the house for me, I will make dua for him that he will get a house in Jannah. So he said, here's Behlul, 1 dinar, please make dua for me as well. So Behlul said, what is this? He said, the price for, he said, no, the price today is, the entire kingship of the world. So I said, Behlul said, Harun Rashid said, Behlul, first of all, I do not even have kingship of the entire world. I have a limited kingship. But even if I had kingship of the entire world, that would be too much. He said, yesterday when it was 1 dinar, वो बिन देखे का सोता था. आज you know that this is what it costs. You know the value of it. So now it has gone up. The value has gone up. So ये जो बिन देखे का सौदा है ना, this Iman is extremely valuable. And this is what makes insan important as well. None of these other creations have Iman. None of them. Insan does. And insan then would go into Jannah. But if you reflect, and truly this is such an amazing comparison, that purely from a bodily perspective, where does insan stand and where does the rest? Look at the cow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created such an amazing thing. It eats, and out from its body comes milk which is of such value to us. Look at the bee. It goes and it sucks on nectar, and out comes from its body honey which is so valuable for us. Look at that small worm that makes the silk. It leaves, and then it produces such beautiful thread that we use for so many purposes. All these creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they take input and they produce something which is of such great value for us. We as humans, in contrast, we eat all the best of the foods, the best of the drinks, the best of the fruits that there can be. And out comes from us one thing that is so horrendous that if it stays in our body, we cannot survive. If anybody, God forbid, has constipation, maximum 3 days. After that, because of high ammonia levels, they would pass out, collapse. And when it comes out, it is so disgusting that you cannot sit in the same place where that filth is. So our body even is not worth of producing something that can be of value to anybody else. Well, what makes us so valuable is what goes in us in form of Iman. And that is what has made insan so great. And this Iman and the azmat of insan, the honor of insan, is reflected then in different actions that it does, in different statuses that it acquires. And we as people, when we are people of Iman, when we are people of taqwa, we also have those things. But we are like, a person of Iman is like that of, like a budding flower. When we crop some harvest, we always ensure that with the harvest, any weeds that are growing, they should be addressed and taken care of. Because if we don't take care of them, what will happen? It will affect the harvest itself. It will, in fact, take the energy out of it. It will destroy it. हमारे साथ भी ऐसा ही है. जब हमारे अंदर ईमान आ जाता है, तो उसके साथ फिर कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें भी आ जाती हैं जो कि हमारे ईमान को ख़राब करना शुरू कर देती हैं. हमारे ईमान के साथ जो औसाफ आती हैं, उन औसाफ के, that, you understand औसाफ? औसाफ means the qualities. The qualities that come with us, there are certain things that come along with it which are not required, which are like weed. For example, if we have power, with it comes arrogance. You know, as soon as you are in authority, invariably, and this is not, I'm not talking about, when you talk about a person in power, we think about prime minister, president. It's not those people. Even us, when we are a husband, we think that we have power, at least theoretically.
Yeah, maybe.
But or when we are parents, we think we have power, and we become arrogant with that power. We start abusing that power. We do not fulfill the rights and responsibilities that come with that power. And this not fulfilling the rights and responsibilities, this is a weed that affects our Iman. So bottom line that I'm highlighting, first I highlighted the importance of Iman, now I'm highlighting that as a person of Iman, what can go wrong to affect your Iman. With wealth comes, you becoming bakhil, miser.
Yes.
You now have, there are people, it's like Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Allah gave him wealth and he used his wealth, he spent his wealth. There's such a beautiful incident of Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu that once there was a shortage, there was a sort of a drought that had happened in Madinah Munawwara, and the local stocks had completely run out. And there was a caravan that was coming from the Syrian area, and people knew that this has ample stock to fulfill the needs. So all the main merchants of Medina, they were waiting to get their hands onto that stock. Sayyidina Usman radhiyallahu anhu, he brought the stock, all of it, all of the caravan, much before anybody else got hold of it. So when people got to know that Usman radhiyallahu anhu has it, they went to him and he said, Usman, give this to us. We'll give you double the price. He said, no, I have a buyer who will give me much more. He said, okay, we'll give you 10 times the price. He said, no, I have a buyer who will give me much more. He said, okay, we will give you 50 times more the price. Who in the world would give you more than this? He said, I have my Rabb who has promised that minimum is 10 and it can be up to 700, or if he wants up to infinite. So he brought it all and distributed it all for free among people. That's how he was. Allah gave him wealth and he spent. And then there are certain people who become, who get, and they are like, they're counting every day. Like, my Hazrat says that they are like, वो माल के मालिक नहीं होते, वो माल के चौकीदार होते. They are the guards. Their responsibility is that, just to guard it. Wait. The Malik spends as he wants. Chowkidar just keeps it in safe. Munshi ban jata. Munshi bhi kuch na kuch kar leta hai. But they are chowkidar. They are just the security guard outside. So, if Allah has given to us and spending in the path of Allah, Rasulullah said that your Iman is not kamil till you have three things. Fairness with people in your dealings, you spreading salam, and you spending in the path of Allah even if you have little. Spending in the path of Allah is very, very important. We should be mindful that, have I spent today in the path of Allah? Have I spent this week in the path of Allah? Have I spent this month in the path of Allah? If all three have not happened, then there is something wrong. And spending on the path of Allah is not that you have to have 20%, 50% of your salary going there. A bottle of water, a khajoor. There's somebody who comes to our Friday sessions, and I know his status, he's in extreme debt, very financially constrained individual. But I love this thing, and I know that he won't be listening to this, that's why I'm mentioning this. What I love about him is that whenever he comes, he just brings as a hadiyah something. Even if it is one banana, he brings it. And I honestly believe that one banana from him is of far more value than somebody bringing the entire carton of it. Because I know how constrained he is, but he has it in his heart to gift. Then I'm coming to Shaykh's house, let me just give him something. Amazing quality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in this, but such an incredible thing. And that's what it is. For you to give, and this months that are coming ahead demand this. Then another thing that, for example, is that with knowledge comes enviness. This is a common thing that with the people of ilm, they tend to be envy of the other person who has ilm. Like, why do they listen to his lectures and not my lectures? Why are my followers this much and his this much? But this is something that takes away the barakah from it. When you become popular, you become a show-off. When there's no YouTube, you're sitting like this, casual. Once you're on YouTube, you're sitting proper upright. Now everything, imama is there, everything is there. So if there's that show-off comes, that kills everything. So these are the things which if you have, these are the things that the good qualities that you get with Iman. All of these are good qualities. Ilm is a good quality. Being popular is a good quality. Being wealthy is a good quality. But if all these weeds that grow with it, then they are directly affecting your Iman.
Sheikh Sabik, something, again going back to the reference and understanding for zakat. So it is again that andhe ka sauda ke, as a normal wisdom you will say, if I am spreading my money, it is reducing my wealth. How it can increase my wealth? It is against the normal logic.
1 plus 1 is 2, 1 minus 1 is 0.
So how is it possible?
Absolutely.
मैं रोजा रखूंगा, so it's going to affect my health. मैं खाना नहीं खा रहा, तो it's again, मतलब Islam में again the same thing कि not everything is logical, or it is beyond our knowledge or imagination that what is the true benefit of it.
बिल्कुल.
अल्लाह को शायद इसी में खुशी मिलती.
अल्लाह को खुशी नहीं मिलती. अल्लाह चाहते हैं कि हमारा अल्लाह पे यकीन बढ़े. When we spend in the path of Allah, remember I told you the ayah of Surah Baqarah in which the first indication that was given was that they have Iman bil ghaib, right? Guess what is the next one? Alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaib wa yuqimuna as-salah, that they stand in their salah, wa mimma razaqnahum yunfikun. This last part, the third part, and they spent wa mimma razaqnahum, and from what we have given to them, they spent yunfikun. And this is so amazing. This is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the easiest way to understand this is, हम अपने छोटे बच्चों को कहते हैं बेटे ये पकड़ो 5 dirham 10 dirham, जाओ उस चैरिटी बॉक्स में डाल दो या उस बंदे को दे आओ. And when he goes and he comes back or she comes back, we say, MashaAllah, look, you've spent today, you've done such a great job, we encourage them. or we give them even more. We just want to invest in them the importance of spending, but they aren't spending anything which they have earned. They aren't spending at that point in time which is theirs. We gave it to them, they spent it, and now we are rewarding them. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying as well. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, that from what we gave to them, yunfikun, they spend. So it's not that Allah becomes happy. He just wants us to have this Iman. It links with Iman bil ghaib. कि जब मैं अल्लाह की राह में खर्च करूँगा तो मुझे मिलेगा. Counter logic. Going against the logic. ये बात ईमान, ये यकीन, अल्लाह की राह में खर्च करने की अहमियत ही ये है कि ईमान को बढ़ाती है. Because you're doing economy, जो financial experts, wealth management people, they'll be कहेंगे कि आप बेवकूफ़ इंसान है. तुम इन्वेस्ट करो जहाँ पे तुम्हें इंटरेस्ट में कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट मिलने शुरू हो, तुम्हें मल्टीपल सोर्सेज से आना शुरू हो, डबल ट्रिपल बैक रिटर्न्स मिलेंगे. तुम कह रहे हो कि मैं खर्च कर दूँ उल्टा, और वो भी बगैर किसी फ़ायदे के, और वो भी छुप के, किसी को पता भी ना चले. So much so that you're spending and from your right hand, your left hand doesn't know. इतने छुप के. What kind of, there has to be some, अगर tangible नहीं है तो intangible return तो हो. If you're not getting wealth back, at least you should get fame back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, spend with no hope of you getting it back, and then see how I return. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is like giving loan to Allah. Who is there who would give loan to Allah? And there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in need of our loans? You know why is it called loan to Allah? Because loan has a default premise that it will be returned. Correct? Loan की है ही ये चीज़ कि वो return होगा. And you know what is the most beneficial return of any loan? When it comes with something on top.
Some return.
Some return from premium. Where would the premium be? The premium would be on the day of Qiyamah. The premium would be on the day of Qiyamah. That is where one penny of ours will return to us as a ticket to Jannah. Super compound. And that is why it's a loan to Allah. Not because Allah is in need of us to spend more.
But given with the right intention, right?
Of course.
Intention की भी.
Of course. वो तो हर चीज़ के अपने criterias हैं, अपनी वो हैं.
No, because you could very easily end up in a cycle to, like in a money box, right?
Absolutely.
Without thinking.
All of it, if not done within the right parameters, it's all everything is a double-edged sword. That is why it is then important to learn that what makes it right and wrong. And hence what I was going to cover. How much time has it been since we have started talking?
About 30 minutes.
55.
55 minutes ago.
50 minutes.
Chale, I think last thing, and then I wrap it up. But just to, somebody has told me you speak very slowly, which I realize that I do. And that's why I always recommend that, when you're listening to me over YouTube, I think I'm the best person to listen at 2x. Because my pace in reality is so slow that if you listen to me at 2x, you will find it perfectly fine. Not to encourage you to listen to me on recordings, but these sessions would be longer than the usual 20-30 minutes because it's important to understand a few things. Hence, there would be some last part that I want to talk about, that there are few things which are key. For everything to be unlocked, we need a key, right? With Iman, we get the assurity, and to keep our Iman, there are certain keys that will help us. And what are those? So what is it that we have sought? That Iman is the key for Jannah. That La ilaha illallah is the key for Jannah. Once we have that Iman and Iman bil ghaib, that is the key for Jannah. The key for our salah is taharat. Hence the importance of staying ba-wudu. Not just before the salah, but at all times. And wudu is not just taharat. Taharat is broader than just wudu. So please be mindful, inshallah. I'll talk about each one of these in detail. But for now, just keep in mind that these are the key things that we need to be working on to attain anything, any success. These are the keys. Iman bil ghaib, the first thing. Taharat, the second thing. The key for being pious, नेक बनने के लिए, the key for that is to speak the truth. A person of truth. And that we lack a lot. At times we do not even realize. We say, bahana bana do. Let's make an excuse. That bahana bana do, that excuse is also a lie. At times we crack a joke. And even that cracking a joke is a lie. At times we say, bas 5 minute dur. Not at times. We always say, bas 5 minute dur. When we are 25 minute dur. Right? That is a lie. We speak, we lie left, right, center, and we don't realize. We lie to our teachers, we lie to our children, we lie to our spouse, we lie to our bosses, we lie to our employees, we lie to ourselves. We lie, we lie, we lie. As long as we are lying, Rasulullah said, he was one talking, and he said, he was talking about moment, and he said, one thing that a moment cannot do, he can never be a liar. And then he, became extremely enraged and said, a moment can never be a liar. A moment can never be a liar. He said it thrice, and Sahaba Ikram said, when he was speaking, we saw him turn red. Because he was so, emphatic about this particular point. He was really wanted to get it across that this is one thing that a moment cannot do. He cannot lie. Those stand-up comedians, listening to a lie is as good as being part of that lie. When we listen to those, a lot of things which, especially in jokes, are said which are a lie. So we should be careful about that as well.
So आपने मुझसे बात करो कि I think last time भी आपने कहा था कि especially in these next 2-3 months. So even make a niyyah inshallah now become mindful in this time. Makes it like a target.
Absolutely. These are all the things that we have to start doing from now to achieve the ultimate goal of Ramadan. And like I said, that these are the things which I'll speak about, the importance of Rajab and everything separately, so that we realize that why do I have to do things. But in these sessions I talk about what is it that we have to do. So what I'm talking now, after 55 minutes of bringing the preamble, is to let you know that these are the points that we have to keep in mind. Iman bil ghaib, number 1. taharat number 2, being able to speak the truth in everything. In our upbringing of our children, what my teachers have taught me is that make it a point that the children know that they will be excused for any wrong that they do, but if they lie and they are caught, there is no excuse. Then shamat aayi hai. We do it the other way around. हम बाकी चीज़ों पे बहुत सख्ती कर जाते हैं, झूठ बोलने पे उनको we let go. They need to know कि झूठ बोलना is a big no. And if we want the help of Allah, Allah की मदद चाहिए, the key for that is in sabr, is in patience. Nothing will come to us if we are impatient. Even if we want that we should have great closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but if we are impatient about it, it will not come. We need to have sabr. Sabr, inshallah, I'll talk about this in detail if Allah allows me. But just sabr is of 3 types. Right? One, sabr is in staying away from masiyat. We are tempted to do wrong. Our hearts wants to do wrong. Our body wants to do wrong. The desires are burning. The lust is flowing. You want to do wrong. You hold yourself back from that doing wrong. That is sabr. The second sabr is in doing the right, in enduring the hardship that comes in doing the right. रात को लेट सोए, सुबह नमाज के लिए उठना मुश्किल है. But if you get up, you endure that tough routine of getting up regardless of how late you have slept, that's sabr. सर्दी का मौसम, I went to Pakistan अभी recently and it was extremely cold. फिर वाकई यहाँ तो बड़ा कम्फर्ट है, अभी जाके बाहर भी हाथ धो रही है. ठंड में जाके ठंडे पानी में हाथ धोना लग समझ में आ जाती है. You do that, that's sabr. अल्लाह की राह में मुश्किलों को बर्दाश्त करना नेकी करने के लिए, that is sabr as well. And third form of sabr is that being patient on loss of wealth, loss of loved one, loss of reputation, on the calamities. These are 3 forms of sabr. Right? So sabr is also, in one of the talks recently, I explained Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin, the concept of that. So, this is the key for and the key for blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shukr. That is why sabr and shukr, they go hand in hand. So as we remain patient, we also must be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our state is that if somebody asks us, how's it going? We say, not bad. Default response is, not bad. Could be better. Bas, theek hai, And this is a person who has everything going for him. Everything going for him, and his response comes, not bad. The response should have been, I cannot be more thankful to Allah that for me doing nothing in return, I'm getting so much. Literally, यार अभी पाकिस्तान में imagine everything has, just recently in Pakistan, and you speak to people that everything has doubled up.
More than
1 kg of onions, 1 kilo प्याज 250 रुपए का. वैसे वो कहते हैं $1 ले लो या 1 किलो प्याज ले लो. It's the same thing. Same प्याज मुझे 16 रुपए का होता था 1 kg. And the daily wages haven't gone up. the salaries haven't gone up, but everything is mounting up. It is becoming difficult. हम यहाँ पे, and that's why I keep on telling my children that you need to start being thankful. वो टाइम गया that we start cribbing about छोटी छोटी चीज़ें. अब तो एक एक लम्हे पे अल्लाह का शुक्र अदा करने की ज़रूरत है.
कैसे ये तो अल्लाह ताला का अज़ाब है कि yes, पाकिस्तान है, obviously बहुत अच्छे लोग भी हैं वहाँ पे, अल्लाह ताला को याद भी करने वाले लोग हैं, उन पे जुल्म भी हो रहा है. तो आई नो बात लंबी हो जाएगी, मे बी ऑफलाइन, हमारा अज़ाब है.
लेकिन जो नेमतों को बरकरार रखती है चीज़, वो शुक्र है. So शुक्र is, we need to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything. Again, this is one of the keys, and inshallah we'll talk about what does shukr mean. Last two keys is that if you want to attain walayat is a high station, close station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a place where you are, Allah is your wali, is like your friend of Allah. One is you're an acquaintance, right? And one is that you are now a friend of Umar, so he can get you the passes and everything. You can ask him, there's no problem. No, one is like, Umar, and I go.
I love how I'm only useful to useless things.
Right? No, but just to give you an idea, that walayat is when you are in the inner group, like when you about informally you can do things. If you want to attain that, the key for that is zikr. Till we not start investing time in zikr, forget about it.
When you say zikr like this, it means muraqbah.
I means muraqbah, period. Bas. Let's not go left, right about it. जब तक मुराकबा नहीं करेंगे, मकामात नहीं मिलेंगे.
How we do it.
And now when we've started doing it regularly, we feel a different sort of happiness once we.
At least at the start.
Yeah, it's like,
in the start is.
I've done it for 10 minutes. Wow.
Yes.
And the key for success is taqwa. And the purpose of Ramadan is la'allakum tattaqun. What Ramadan gives to you ultimately is taqwa, and the key for success is taqwa. We keep on looking for different things to get successful, and falah is what success is. And what does falah truly means? It means that it is that kind of success after which there is no failure. Falah is that kind of success after which there is no failure. Falah is that kind of closeness after which there is no parting. Falah is that kind of happiness after which there is no sadness. So falah is the ultimate glory that one can achieve, and it can only be achieved with taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Tilkal jannatu, that this jannat, allati nurisu min ibadina, we have inherited this or made inheritor from our ibad, those man kana taqiyya, the ones who were people of taqwa. The words of this ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made inheritors from those abds who had taqwa. Inheritance is something that you get passed on. Jannat was created for Adam alayhi salam. We are the prodigy of Adam alayhi salam.
Project.
Yeah, we would get this in inheritance if we are the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
So,
who are people of taqwa. That's the importance of it. So these we need to keep in mind. If we have these points, then inshallah we can have the hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we will, and these will inshallah we will try to build on all these features, all these points one by one, so that we can attain that ultimate goal, which is the goal of Ramadan. Come out as people of taqwa. Okay. Chalo, jazakumullah khair wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.